Hey everyone, welcome in to another Stock Talk episode on the KE Report. As always, I am joined by Quinton Hennigh, geologist, private investor, and geologic advisor to Crescat Capital. Thank you, everybody, for sending in even more companies. I'm keeping a list of all the companies, and we do appreciate some of the newer stories that you sent us on this Stock Talk episode. We're going to be talking about two silver plays, Vizsla Silver, that has a big silver resource in Mexico, Tier 1 Silver, that is exploration company focused in Peru, and Faraday Copper, which has a big copper resource in Arizona. As always, I'm going to be flipping through some of these slides. We're starting with Vizsla Silver, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol VZLA, and on the NYSE under the symbol VZLA. Quinton, I'm going to flip through this presentation. They're talking about silver initially here. We're going to skip that whole aspect of it. This is the capital structure. The company has done quite a bit in just the limited amount of time that it has been in existence. And right now, as we can see in the share price chart, it's trading close to some all-time highs. The company also just announced a royalty spin-out. I want to start off with the resource at the Panuco project. This is where it's located in Mexico. The resource already over 325 million ounces silver equivalent. Quinton, what do you think of this resource at Panuco?
It's an impressive number. It's an impressive accomplishment over such a short time. Look, I think these guys have done an absolutely fantastic job of making discovery and really demonstrating the potential of this district. But, I don't want to give the impression that this is all there is. Okay, this is a district scale play. The company has very large land position, which you can see on the left-hand side of the image here. And quite frankly, the area that they've tested or drilled, extensively at this point, we'll say, is really just a small part, maybe 10 or 15% of the overall picture here. There's many, many more structures here, also demonstrating high grade potential. This is truly a world-class camp, gold, silver camp, very high grade epithermal vein system. And I think these numbers are only going to get better from here. It's notably high grade, guys. I mean, this is an impressive story.
So, Quinton, the exploration potential throughout the project is there. It's clear to see where they call this the center of mass, where they have been exploring. The Copala and Tajitos area is a major focus right now. For the potential to move into test mining, what do you think about the strategy here of doing some test mining, moving into some test mining scenarios while still having this exploration potential? But again, the focus right now on economics and test mining.
It's kind of a philosophical question around test mining and vein deposits like this. I mean, basically any vein deposit like this, you kind of got to approach at this kind of a level, kind of a bootstrap level. I think it'll be wildly successful personally because of the grades and there are significant widths to these veins. I really think this thing can deliver. There's been mining in this district and nearby districts for many, many years. It's not that this is a brand new discovery. It actually has seen a history of mining and quite successfully. Okay, so I think it's natural for the company, for any company with a project like this, to move towards in this direction, to move towards making it a mine. Okay, it is incredibly drill intensive to drill out veins. There's a point at which you got to ask yourself, okay, do we spend more capital? Do we dilute the company further by drilling this thing off, on a tighter and tighter spacing to get higher and higher confidence, or do we kind of, pull the ripcord and start mining? Do we get in there and actually prove it by, we'll call it, the proof in the pudding kind of approach, where the mining is actually the success of the operation. In a story like this, you're never going to have like 20 years of reserves ahead of you. You're always going to have a few years of reserves. They've already got that. Okay, if you look at this reserve base, there's quite a bit of an indicated here, like almost half of what they have is indicated. It's time to get their skates on and get going.
Well, and that's what they're looking at doing. They're going to have some economics coming out as well as an updated resource. I actually just talked with the president and CEO, Mike Connor, earlier this week. So you all can hear that interview that dealt with some recent near surface drill results. Quinton, catch or stop me if you see anything that you want me to stop on here. This is more just
Well,
insights into the resource.
let's talk about Capella. I mean, this is an exceptional discovery, and yeah, there's veins here, they were known, but to drill off something like this, and you can see the drill intensity in this slide right here, to a level where you do have a significant amount of indicated resources, is a real accomplishment. I mean, in this day and age, this is an awesome accomplishment. Very high grade shoots are clearly evident here. Everybody that has any investment in an epithermal vein story, you've got to understand that this is the nature of these deposits. Okay, they are not nice continuous sheets, most of them, of continuous high grade mineralization. The high grade tends to form in discrete shoots. When you get into it, though, it is absolutely insane stuff. Okay, you can see here they have a lot of material that's over 200,000 gram meter, gram per ton meter in this cross section. Okay, some very high grade areas. It's not saying that that's a meter wide at 2,000 grams. It's going to be variance thereof. Like it could be a bit wider, a few meters wide, call it of several hundred grams per ton. But that gives you an overall impression right there of the quality. And this is an exceptional deposit.
Yeah, this Copala area really has been the standout. The Napoleon area, this is where they first started and made some of the earlier on discoveries. This still has a lot of potential, but again, it's that Copala area.
I've looked at a lot of epithermal systems, Corey, over time. And, when I see a long section like that and just, one shoot after another, that is as good or better than 90% of the epithermal vein systems I've seen on planet Earth.
Yeah, it's saying something too. That Copala is even better than Napoleon. This is La Luisa, kind of a newer area, but again, very close to where the other resources are. There's that district
There you go.
potential.
There you go.
So
Look
this
at
is
all
what they're talking about. Central,
that.
East.
There's heaps more. Okay. And there is kind of a variation of, between gold and silver across the property. I think the West area is a fantastic place to start, and there's plenty to build up there. But when they get to the central area and the east area, easily as much potential. This thing's going to grow by leaps and bounds. This could be, rival some of the classic, historic, great silver camps in Mexico over time.
Yeah, I actually was at this site late last year, I believe it was, and this highway that runs right by. It was actually very easy to get to this project, which is another positive for the company. Now, the company also made these other acquisitions too of these other land packages within the country, still within generally the area of Panuco. What do you think about some of these acquisitions, the Lagara and the San Enrique?
I think it's nice to see. It's opportunistic. They're picking up blocks of ground that have similar potential, similar type of geology, and they're doing it in a market that's quite frankly been depressed. I mean, Mexico. A lot of people have different views of Mexico. Look, if you're gonna do anything like this, go long, okay, irregardless of what people might say of Mexico. And I've been a bit down on Mexico as well, just politically. I think it's a bit of a risky jurisdiction, but when a company establishes a position like this, that's the best thing they can do. Okay, they're setting up shop for a long time.
Yeah, it is. It seems like, well, it just keeps that blue sky, the potential, the exploration potential on track. Here's some of the big initiatives for 2024. Again, that bulk sample test mine, they're drilling right now, more tightly spaced holes, and they'll work on metallurgy. Let's see, is there anything else in this presentation? I think we can move on. Here's the timeline that we see. Look, they acquired the project back just before 2020 and then have already moved it to this stage. It's been a very fast life cycle. Let's move on to Tier 1 Silver, trade on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol TSLV and on the OTCQB under the symbol TSLVF. Now, this is an earlier stage explorer focused in Peru. Quinton, any overview, any thoughts on any of the projects, especially that flagship Caribaya project?
Caribaya has the same kind of flavor, really, as Vizsla. It's a very similar system in that it's low sulfidation epithermal or intermediate sulfidation epithermal veins. Very high grade. Whenever I see grades, like this jump out, especially early on, says, hey, this is a good system. This is the kind of place you want to be. They haven't drilled it nearly as much as what we just looked at, but this smells a lot like Vizsla. Like this is an earlier stage or earlier chance for people to get into a similar story. It is in Peru. It's not in Mexico, just to make that clear, but very similar likely outcome.
Let's talk about the area then. They're outlining here this porphyry belt, this epithermal gold belt. We see where Caribaya is. Any comments on Peru and these different belts?
Look, Peru is still a place to explore. Anybody that says Peru's been overdone in terms of exploration is crazy. I think Peru's had challenges the past few years. The length of time to get permits and stuff for a while was very, very long and quite frankly painful. Okay. But I think starting around a year ago, we saw a very rapid shift to making permitting more streamlined in the country. And it's once again kind of catalyzing companies to come in and start spending money again. And this is one of them. Okay, there's a few juniors that are starting to pop up and become more aggressive in Peru. As far as the geology goes, Peru is in every sense of the word a world-class jurisdiction to go looking for big deposits. They have a variety of deposits, everything from porphyries to epithermal deposits, even VMS deposits and things like that. Okay, so these guys are set up at Caribaya. They're set up in the porphyry belt, which is this is a big porphyry belt. Okay, so like Cerro Verde, that's a world-class deposit. And Southern Copper is in here too, and this is one of the great copper belts on Earth. But these guys are not looking for copper. They're looking at the intermediate sulfidation veins that are probably associated with the porphyry, but would overlie it.
Well, let's move on through this then. Again, this is more just on the district. This is some of the drilling, some of the sampling that they have done. Here are a bunch more sample results.
Go back to that slide there, which shows, and these are rock chips. I mean, these are not systematic, channel samples and things like that. But just to think a geologist could go out and collect random rock chip samples that are yielding grades like this is pretty impressive. Certainly for silver, the silver values often, kilo or kilos of silver per ton. That is an impressive feat. And then on top of that, you have high grade gold in this system. Okay, it's not every day that you see high grade with the silver, but in this case, it's got that flavor. Okay, and I really think that's attractive. I think that's what could make this one pretty special.
Here's some more of the sample results. And as you said, look, they found some high grade, especially in terms of silver. I think the company just needs to get back and keep on drilling it. Here's some of the corridors.
Look at that image there, Corey. I mean, it's not quite the same size of a property position, but it's not far off. Okay, we're talking about something that's about what's 8 or 10 kilometers from southwest to northeast here, and just one series of veins after another. Okay, this is a very, very prospective district scale play. By the way, the thick red lines are not the veins. So the veins are actually the thinner red lines that are a little bit harder to see there in the background, but there are corridors. I mean, there's basically corridors of epithermal veins here, numerous veins. So each one of these drill holes has the chance to hit multiple vein structures as it's being drilled.
So from an exploration strategy, when you have this many different corridors, what do you go after here, Quinton? Is it simply drill dependent, looking for the higher grade, or is there something else as an explorer you look for?
Look, you obviously want to go after the highest grade, but there are certain conditions you have to work around, like topography and stuff. And this is a pretty high relief country here. Access, is probably first and foremost. So my suspicion is the company is probably using a combination of geologic interpretation and then looking at the lowest hanging fruit within those corridors in terms of access to get the drill position. Okay, and you can see that the drill holes are kind of clustered in certain areas. There is road access through here. You know, there's tracks and trails across the property, but it is quite steep.
Let's take a look at other things. Oh, there you go. You get to see just how steep some of this
Exactly.
the project is. This is some more drilling. This is the proposed location of future drilling. Again, they're kind of working their way out to the east. I believe the company still needs to raise some money to get drilling, but I will follow up with the company to see what the updated plans are. Anything else here that's really catching our eye? Here we go.
You
Okay.
know,
Yep.
the other thing I'd mention about this company, there's some pretty smart geologists involved with this company that you know, I know of. And you know, that's one of the things I look at, to be blunt, is I flip through the deck and to the first page, you know, like Antonio Ribas, okay, like he was on that slide you showed a second ago. He and I worked together at Newmont years ago, and I've known, and there he is right there. He's a director. Boom. I've worked with Antonio. I knew his dad. His dad was a very famous Spanish geologist. Uh, First met him in the Iberian Pyrite Belt, I think in 1993 or something. So, you know, these, and Ivan Bebic, you know, I mean, world-class geologists again. I mean, you got several across here. I don't mean to, you know, pick and choose, but you know, Ivan's definitely a lot of the brains behind this. He's got a nose for finding big things.
And being able to sell projects too. The background of some
Exactly.
of these guys has been able to actually sell some companies. Let's move on to Faraday Copper. Let me get back to the front of this slide. Faraday Copper traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under, or the TSX under the symbol FDY, and on the OTCQX under the symbol CPPKF. This is a big copper resource in Arizona. Over 4.2 billion pounds of copper in the measured and indicated. They already have a PEA that was released in 2023. I'm sure we'll get to some of that. But in terms of just initial comments on this large resource, what are your thoughts on this large copper resource?
Okay, this is a really interesting story, and I first heard it a couple of years back. And what intrigued me, I mean, you know, first of all, it's a lending company, which is, you know, says a lot. I mean, they pick high quality stuff. They're a smart mob, and then there's a lot of very smart backers here. I think there's a slide somewhere in here that shows that. But the fact that they've come in here and picked up this project or assembled this project, it's kind of a very complicated land position. You'll see in one of these slides. But the fact they picked this up and consolidated such a land position right in the middle of what's really the heart of the Arizona Copper Belt here. And you can see, you know, thanks for turning to this slide. It puts it in context. Okay, San Manuel and Kalamazoo are just across the valley there. Okay, so if you look to the southwest of Copper Creek, you can see the little dot that says San Manuel. That was a massive mine for many years. Kalamazoo was a massive block cave or underground mine that's just north of San Manuel. World class in every aspect. Okay, but then if we look up to the northwest, about what is it, 80 kilometers or so, maybe 100 kilometers, you know, you see the Ray deposit right there. You also see Resolution. Okay, BHP and Rio Tinto's joint venture at Resolution. Phoenix, by the way, would be kind of off to the northwestish, you know, about 50K. But I'm going to tell you that the geology at Copper Creek looks, smells in many respects like what I know about Resolution. Okay, what I mean by that, to put in context, Resolution was a deep discovery. It is a blind deposit that's at depth, but there's a lot of indications at surface. In other words, there was a lot of we'll call it you know, anomalism in terms of geology at a shallow depth near surface that led them into their discovery. Okay, and those, you know, those took the form of breccia pipes and you know, identification of multiple intrusive faces and copper anomalies, copper deposits of all sorts. Boy, when you start picking this story apart, this looks like, there we go. That's slide right there. Okay. Okay. I'm going to pull people up to the upper right first. That's a surface image. Okay. And you can see 6 distinct areas that are current resource. Okay, so those are basically pits. The black lines are pits that are pulled on existing near surface resources. Okay, and then if you look over to the left, immediate left of that, you can see some of the pits like Copper Prince and Mammoth. Okay, fine, great. But let's talk about what's in the bottom part of the slide here. Okay, so over here in the lower right, you see American Eagle and the keel zone, and that's probably accurately named. There's something more brewing down there, okay? Something more, and it almost feels like they're at the tippy top of something bigger, if you know what I mean. And I know that this thought has crossed all of their minds, okay? Yeah, it's 470 meters down. It's it's 470 meter elevation, respective absolute sea level. It's 1,100 meters down. But if you think about resolution, that is a mile. So that's 1.6 kilometers. So if they were to go out here and they were to find another resolution deposit hiding underneath all of these, what I'll call near surface anomalies, okay, I would not be surprised. I think there is something big brewing in the subsurface, whether it's been maybe rotated a little bit or faulted or something, I don't know. But seeing all of these breccia pipes and these near surface deposits, in my view, especially with a footprint that big, points to something much bigger at depth. Really hope the company is thinking about that. I know that they are focused on getting this thing into an operating mine. They've got a large resource to start with. 4.2 billion pounds is a pretty good start. It's not the highest grade deposit in the world, but what's below it is the price. Okay, I think seeing some of those photos of core with massive chalcopyrite, and even I think they see bornite here and there like that. I mean, that is a breccia body, but they're in that is hosted massive chalcopyrite. They're hitting more and more of this. I think a lot of people have noticed the news out of this company. They are finding more and more telltale signs. There's something bigger down there, and I really hope they find it. It'd be lovely to see a new resolution discovery.
Well, and they are moving forward with exploration. That seems to be a big focus for the company. What do you think about that strategy of more exploration? And it sounds like maybe a less permitting focus right now because they do think that they have a lot more potential
I think as long as they can get this, keep the support in the market, they got good backers, okay, and they got access to capital. Thank God. Copper is doing pretty well. Thank God. Okay, if they can pull in that money, and they can keep testing the bigger picture here. If they were to tag something like a resolution type drill target with a mega hole in it, let's say, 1,000 meters of 1.6% copper or something like that, even if it's at depth, okay, I think that would absolutely light the market on fire. That's going to that would be a huge success, which would return multiples in my view. Now, you're jumping around quite a bit here, but there was one slide.
Sure.
There was one slide that showed some drill holes that extend to depth, and you can get a sense of how there's something brewing up at depth.
This one.
Was this that? There you go. Okay.
Go.
So this keel area, okay. Look at some of these numbers. While yes, I mean they're a bit short, like 103.64 meters. 1.34% copper. That's
the 252 meter one's pretty good too.
Yeah, and then exactly. Okay, that doesn't fall off the pumpkin wagon. Okay, there's something big down there. Okay, and you can see right away that this thing is growing. Okay, there is something really big, and I could see where if they poke a few holes down into this country on let's hopefully some good data they have that helps them target it, they could pull out of the ground 1,000 meters of those kind of grades. Notice there's also gold. That for Arizona, that's very high gold. Okay, this is anomalously high gold. In fact, several of the targets they have are notably high in gold. Okay, so I get very excited about that. Kind of gives you that a little bit more of an alkaline flavor to it with respect to most of the Arizona porphyry coppers. but that's great. Okay. Imagine hitting 1,000 meters of 1.3 or 1.4% copper with a quarter gram gold. The market would absolutely go nuts.
Well, and this is right below that mammoth pit.
Exactly.
This is the pit outline, right? So that's
Exactly.
that whole open pit underground scenario.
I love swinging for the fence, and these guys, they know there's something bigger down there. Okay, they know it. So I just can't wait to see them, get to that stage where they test it.
See what comes out of it. I think they are doing a lot of that testing this year. Talk to me about anything else that you're seeing in
Look at some
here.
of those. Look at that photograph you had there. Go back one more. I think this one. Yeah, look
This
at
is that new discovery, Area 51.
exactly. They're still finding new things. Okay, and these are breccias. Okay, these are breccia body, but there's this flavor of high grade that's in these things. Look at that, 11 meters, 1.3% copper. This is right up near surface. Yeah, that didn't come from nothing. I mean, there's something down there kicking off those kind of grades. And it's just like a little telltale sign, a little whiff of something bigger at depth.
Well, they already have a big resource, right? So is it the higher grade that you think moves it, or would it be just tying this all together into one massive body?
If this company was to stop exploring and just work on the shallow material they have, move it towards production, it'd be a decent story. Okay, but what's going to make it like a story that returns multiples? Something that makes a multi-billion-dollar company. Drilling the deep target, finding that resolution number 2, right below this.
Yeah, really is. Let's flip through a few more of these slides. Let me know if you're seeing anything in here. This is and then this is the other project that the company has. But again, the major focus is
But contact,
on
I know contact. I hope they don't
yeah.
spend too much money there. I don't care for that one too much, and I don't mean to be critical, but it's just it doesn't have the oomph. Okay, this thing should be 110% about Copper Creek, and I hope the company, you know, does that big test at some point. I'm watching it very carefully because I think they'll pull it off.
Okay. Hey, Quinton, very interesting. Thank you for walking through these different slide decks with me. We switched up the format just a little bit here. I hope everybody is still enjoying these segments. Quinton and I will be back in another couple of weeks talking about a few more metals companies, individual stocks, all of which that you are sending to me. Please keep those emails coming. Fleck at kereport.com. Quinton and I will be back with another Stock Talk in a couple weeks. Quinton, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Corey.